There was a pregnancy I was asked to terminate by church leaders. Like, no, in this
Wow.
economy, how can you be having kids? And when I didn't terminate that pregnancy, okay, we're gonna cut stipend skamfundis. The Methodist Church is becoming the headquarters of the alphabet. Right now, the church is being led of like the past presiding bishop, lesbian in the closet, the current, a divorcee who is now a lesbian in the closet as well. So there's obviously an agenda. Being a heterosexual is going to be very abnormal in the Methodist Church.
Yeah.
A straight man is going to be like he just grew a third boob.
Shalom. This is your host, pastorenochphiri. Welcome to Taking Dominion. You know, the Bible says the time has come for judgment to begin in the house of the Lord. And it's not surprising why there is so much drama happening in the church, in the body of Christ, all over the world. And also, we've got people within the body of Christ who are standing up for the truth. They're standing up for the facts. They're standing up for others that can speak for themselves because the church is full of such men and women, including children, who cannot speak for themselves. And just to have discussions in the studio, I have Queen Nandi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, my brother. Bishop, let me call you Bishop.
The anointed one.
The anointed one.
How are
Thank
you?
Thank you for having me. I'm blessed and highly favored.
Wow. You know what? The first time I saw you on television, in one of the shows, I was so intrigued by your forthcoming. I was intrigued by how you are not scared to speak and confront the status quo. Because, in my opinion, because I've asked a lot of pastors' wives within the charismatics, because I know many of them from that background, and asked them, "What do you think about Queen Nandi?" They said, "Wow, Pastor, if God can give me a chance just for 1 hour to be Queen Nandi ngizomosha." Like, what does ngizomosha ini, yabona? And it's so much interesting. When I follow you, even on your social media, you're not scared to talk about your opinions and even to express your head. And even when you're excited, you talk about it. And a lot has been happening in your life. And many of our viewers know you, but perhaps very few might know your background. Who is Unandi? Where is Nandi coming from?
Oof, I hate that question. With my life,
Wow.
who are you? Because you know, as a person, you wear different hats.
Absolutely.
So now I'm like, when you ask me who I am,
Okay.
which hat
Which
do you
hat?
want?
Absolutely.
Which hat do you want us to talk about? First and foremost, I'm a daughter of the Most High King,
Wow.
God.
We
I'm
praise
made
God.
in the image of God, which
Amen.
is why I
Amen.
go by Queen Nandi. Because if I'm made in an image of a king, then that makes the female version of God queen.
Powerful.
So I actually believe that I'm made in the image of God. I really do believe, because many of us Christians actually don't believe in the word of God. So the Bible says we are made in the image. Even when in creation he says, let us create man in our image. So we don't believe we are made in the image of God. And I believe, shame, God looks like me. God is this beautiful. God is this honest. He wants us to tell the truth, speak your truth. So for me, that's why I've been labeled as the most controversial mamfundisi ever, which I don't think that's true. I don't believe that is true. But I guess I'm here to speak on the head of
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
yes.
apart from being umamfundisi, well, now going to be ex-mamfundisi.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. I don't know, is it sad?
It is sad. You know, I believe, Nandi, I'm also a returned soldier.
Okay.
I was divorced a few years ago, but I believe in family. I believe in family, and I believe that both husband and wives must fight for the livelihood of their marriages. You know, and when one party gives up, it's really hurtful. I mean, because we cannot raise this generation and release it to the next generation in a conflicted family, if I can call it. But I thank God that I can talk about it and precisely criticize myself. But yet at the same time, I believe in family. And you too look like you believe in
course.
family. Then what happened, Nandi?
No, I'm big on families. I believe that I'm gonna talk about black families because I'm black. That's what I know.
So yeah, okay, yeah.
So I actually believe that black love is black wealth, because remember, families are based on the foundation of love. It's two people coming together, loving one another, build a family. Those children are made out of love, right? That's why you end up having children. So black love is actually black wealth. So and one of the reasons why we are poor as black people is the systems, the colonial systems took away that love. Or Tina, we knew it as Ubuntu. Love is Ubuntu. So remember, you are human because of other human beings. Do you understand?
Yes.
We are here. Every single one of us is here because of a man and a woman. You understand? And now the colonialism came and it took the man away from the home. He went to the mines, he went wherever. And that's where poverty started.
Absolutely.
That's where poverty started, because the black man had Omkulubetu, they had their farms, they had their house, they had land.
Absolutely.
So colonialism said, no, come work for a couple of rands, leave your cattle, leave your gardens where you could have all types of fruits, vegetables. You've had your cows for milk. You get what I mean? We were not poor. Now we are fed with a history, which is a lie, that no, black people were poor, they had to go work. No, that's a lie. That is a lie. And so as a result, that took away that family structure, that love, that is our wealth. You understand? And now, think about it. Now that there's depopulation agenda.
Absolutely.
There's a depopulation agenda.
It's a genocide, actually, in a certain terms.
Depopulation, starting from family planning. So one of the clashes I've had with some church leaders, Amagosa, we have your elders in the church, which you need to stop. I mean, there was a pregnancy I was asked to terminate by church leaders. Like, no, in this economy, how can you be having kids? And when I didn't terminate that pregnancy, okay, we're gonna cut stipend kamfundisi.
The church wanted you to terminate a child. No, Nandi, a church.
Well,
wanted
it's not
you. No. I just want to be very clear, because this is very shocking. Like the church wanted you to terminate a baby, to abort.
Let's put it, say it as it is.
Abortion,
because they like, so when umfundisi, we're paying him so much that you guys keep popping babies. So, and then when I didn't, he got a pay cut. Not that there was no money, but it's like, oh, so clearly we're paying you so much that you can keep having babies. So then they gave him a pay cut.
No.
And then when I had fell pregnant after that one, they were like, get out of here.
No.
Yeah. So, and the funny thing is, remember that the church, the whole Christianity, let me not say Christianity, let me say religion.
Yeah, religion.
Religion is part of colonial systems.
Absolutely.
You understand that?
Because inkonzo yabathambisa abantu, so that they can't fight back.
Yes, and they can't reason. Because another thing I find is that Christians, it's like, you don't use logic. There are things that God has put. Remember, when God created you, He created you with everything you needed to succeed in this life. You understand? There's a reason why God created you. You're a black man. You are the height you are, the size you are, think the way you do. It's because everything you needed to succeed in this life is already within you.
Absolutely.
But now society tells you everything you need to succeed is outside of you. You're constantly reaching out. You need to get an education. It's always this battle of everything is out there, which is a lie. You're being you. That's your power. I mean, I'm where I am today. Like I believe soon I'm going to be a global citizen, global
Wow,
citizen,
wow.
because I am happily me. I don't want to be an Oprah. I don't want to be. I am Nandi pa, and I'm content with that, flaws and all. You know, the temperament. I'm like, that's exactly what I need to succeed in this life. The bad temper. I have a bad temper. That is exactly what I need to succeed in this life. And I can also. I'm one of the most sweetest people you'll come across. I need that. You know, even the Bible says, "Behold, I send you amongst wolves as." I send you amongst wolves as sheep. Be wise, or be shrewd as a serpent, but calm as a dove.
Absolutely.
So it's okay to be shrewd as a serpent. There's nothing wrong with that. You
Nothing
understand?
wrong.
There's nothing wrong with that. Be shrewd as a serpent. But it's also okay when you see a situation, it needs me to be a sheep right now. Be okay with that as well. And so we live in a society that says, no, this is who you should be. What you're doing is wrong. It's a sin. It's whatever. Who said it's a sin? Did God come and say, you know, it's a sin? Like divorce. I know God hates divorce.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I the last thing on my mind was divorce. You understand? Because I believe if you marry, you say till death do us apart. You understand? That's a commitment. That's a lifelong commitment. So when you then divorce, then the question, it's like death has struck. Remember, death is not physical.
Yeah, yeah.
Not all the time. Yes, you can die physically, but if you reach a point yet divorce, like you said, you return soldier.
Yeah, yeah.
So what
yeah.
what was the death? You was saying interview what was the death? What was the cause of?
Absolutely.
So whatever caused that divorce, kufa lo.
Kunjalo.
So in my case, church was the cause. The Methodist Church was the cause of my divorce.
No.
So it's death itself. The institution has brought death upon something. We said till death do us apart. So if church did us apart, that's death.
I really need because I really need you to really come out with certain things here, because you know, you are not the first person
No.
I have heard from the Methodist Church complaining about how pastors are treated, and the women, pastors' wives, to be more specific, and not only within the Methodist Church. This also goes to most churches which were used as the colonial machineries, which were sent to Africa to neutralize and demonize people, so that people don't fight back the system of colonial powers. Not only the Methodists and many other churches, but I want to break it down to you as the Unandipa, Queen Nandi, pastor's wife. There were complaints that what kind of a pastor's wife is having tattoos? What kind of a pastor's wife would sometimes swear? These were some of the complaints that people voiced out. Now, you as the Umamfundisi, do you think that logic, or is there any manual which is given to you as Abu Mamfundisi in the Methodist, where they tell you how to behave when things are in a certain order?
Look, the cursing or the tattoos and the whatever, I think it goes back to your upbringing.
Yeah.
So some things, I don't think there's a manual that umamfundisi should be sona. So it's like how again about funzanga yini, like
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
uktuga is a no. It's
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's from home.
Sure.
No church needs to teach you that. It's manners you are taught from home.
Yeah.
But Mina personally,
Yeah.
I'm like, I grew up as a child. I hardly spoke. You know, my husband, or soon to be ex-husband, would say, the girl I married, she was almost on mute. You never spoke. What happened to you? And I think what made me come out of that shell is realizing when you keep quiet, people think it's a consent ukuthi bakwenza izinto is wrong. So if in your globa and you keep quiet, I'm like, oh, okay, so he's okay with that. So the next I can even put my feet on his head, he'll be okay. I will try that, and even Gabonia too, it's like, oh, that's consent, it's okay. So one thing I've learned about human beings is when you keep quiet, they think you are stupid or something.
Mm.
And so I had to stand up for myself, because there's a lot of bullying within the church, especially when you are young and umamfundisi. It's like ngwanyana or you understand. So sometimes you just got to say, but as much as umdala, respect is a two-way street. You can't disrespect me and expect me ukuthi, no, I'm going to be a doormat. Eventually you're going to change even the character I am,
Sure.
because at some point I'm going to need to stand up to your bullying, or I just put up with it and be depressed like many of our mamfundis. These women are depressed because they must keep quiet, they must take bullying, they must, even from their own husbands. I understand.
Which is very common, eh?
It's very common. Many pastors' wives are actually abused by their husbands to a point where they just keep quiet, and the bullying goes on to the congregation. The congregants bully them and they keep quiet. I'm like, nah, I'm sorry. And if the language I'm speaking, if I don't like what you're doing and you still don't get it, and you're still putting your foot on, I'm going to get your foot the fuck off my foot.
Yo, mamfundis.
Because you're clearly not understanding when you say, no, but we are nyatela, and it's like I'm saying you massaging my toes with your foot. No, we are not playing with. I'm saying, get your foot off mine.
Absolutely.
And if you don't listen, I'm going to tell you. And that's the problem. That's when now I notice, when you then swear at them, that's when like, oh my gosh, how could you say that to me? But I tried telling you to get your foot off. You didn't understand. So I used language that your colonial government used on you, and you understood it. Because remember, you are dealing with abantu abadala who've been abused by the apartheid system. Talking to them nicely, they don't get it. Because apartheid, it's here. So they know Uti Ipulu would come and knock and swear at them. That's when they're gonna bazotatazela bamlalele. But as long as you give, like, talk in a soft voice, they're not gonna get you until you say la 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 wara wara wara. And then they're like, suddenly they listen to you. I'm like, oh, okay, so you listen when I use this language. If I speak to you like a normal human being, you don't resonate. You don't resonate, you don't listen. And trust me, the things that I've complained about in the church, many other women have complained about them, but they've used the nice language, so they don't hear it. And the moment you start cursing at them, and then it's like, oh, okay, you got our attention. I'm like, okay, good. Now that I have your attention, this is what I'm saying.
Wow. Now you see, you've been so much hurt by the church. And, I saw in the newspaper some time back where the church literally kicked you out of the mission house.
Yeah.
I mean, that was unheard of, because we don't even see that among companies which are run by non-believers.
Yeah.
Why would a church, which has been over 200 years in South Africa, kick a woman out, a woman with children out of the mission house? I mean, what really happened on that occasion?
So, again, they've been pushing this agenda of my husband, he must divorce me and whatnot. So remember, church, okay, this is how it works. Work and accommodation, it's one thing. So if Mfundisi is working at this church, then the house, it's one thing. So my thing was...
Okay, just on that, do they give options for... Like for me, let's say I'm a pastor in the Methodist. Can I have my own house to say I can have my own apartment, then just drive to church whenever I'm needed?
Yes, you can. You can, provided that you are not dependent on their stipend. Provided you have other sources of income, of which they say you're not allowed to work. So unless you can somehow steal money, because the only way you're going to get money is if you work, and they don't allow you to work if you're in full-time ministry. So you need to scam someone somewhere somehow to acquire your own properties and your own stuff. So if you just umfundisi who's on a straight and narrow, there's no way you're going to afford property. They don't pay them enough. They literally, abefundisi basewisi are slaves. Their chains are just the white collar. The chains are very small. You understand? It's the white collar. But they are slaves getting paid just enough to have a plate of food. Remember, during slavery, the slaves worked for a plate of food and accommodation, which is exactly the same principle. So the accommodation, it's not even theirs, it's the church's property, and they just pay you enough to go buy some groceries.
And the church is owned by England. Europe owns the church.
Of course, the church has its owners, the British, owning so much land. They own millions of acres of land. You understand? And you have, so we have these structures where, so one church is called a society, and then you will have a cluster of societies, like maybe 4 or 5 churches. They'll call them a circuit.
Okay.
And then you'll have circuits being grouped to a district. All right.
Okay.
So now these circuits, they must cough up money to the head office. All right. And you will find that there are circuits that are owing the Methodist Church millions. How do you incur debt in church? How are church members owing the Methodist Church millions? I know there's one of my friends who's a minister's wife. Her husband is not getting paid because why? The church he's ministering in is owing the head office, I don't know how many millions.
Wow.
And I'm like, are they even allowed to be debt collectors? And how did we reach a point of, because it's not like they're selling anything to anyone. Well, what are they selling to anyone? How did you get to a point where you owing? And then they don't pay the slave because your cash cows, the congregants, are not coughing up the money, so you're not going to get paid. So the system itself, it's, I think the Methodist Church is still using systems from the apartheid era because it looks and walks and talks like one. Even the eviction. So the eviction was, it was orchestrated by a Boereman.
Okay. Okay.
Which is why when I put that eviction, because many people are like, yeah, but apartheid ingenaphi eviction, pay your rent and whatever. Because I put out a video of the eviction myself. And I said deja vu of the apartheid era. And that's because I know it's a Boereman behind it. And he sent those white people, which is the sheriff, and then they use black people to come take the stuff out.
That's always the case.
That's always the case. Same apartheid system, like how they pushed out our grandfathers, our forefathers out of their land. You know, I mean, my husband's uncle was telling me, because he was angry about this whole eviction thing. He was like, do you know that my family, we were moved from our farm as kids. We were put in a truck with our furniture, the crops and whatever, even cows in the same truck. Humans were in there.
Wow.
And they were
And
just
children.
and children. So he was a kid when this happened, and he says the truck just drove and dropped them in the middle of nowhere, and that's where they started settling. So that's how these townships came about. They were actually removed from their farms, their land,
Which were fertile for
which
farming.
were fertile for farming, and then they were just dropped off in the middle of nowhere, and then they started, building smaller nyana houses there for survival. And so he was actually telling me their farm, they were kicked out for the Methodist Church. They actually built a Methodist church where his fathers. So, and a lot of people were driven out of their land. So that's why I said, for me, this is deja vu. It's like, here we go again. They kicking me out of a house, which is this man. It's not even his, because he uses the church to clean money. He just uses church to clean money. He's always in leadership. He never, like the Methodist Church, you can't be serving in an office for more than 6 years. But he's still serving up till today. And he kicked my husband out because he started questioning, how come you are still serving in this position? How come your brother does the books? He will fly his brother from America to come do church books as if it's his business. His brother, he will fly his brother.
Is this gentleman a South African?
He is. He is South African, but he's obviously been a beneficiary
Oh, yeah?
of the apartheid system. I mean, he owns acres of land in Bronkhorstspruit, and now he's using the church to clean money from however he's making his money. And so we started questioning that, my guy, there's a lot of discrepancies in your leadership as a steward. Why are you in charge of the finances of the church? Why is your brother flying from Australia? He will stay a week in South Africa to audit church books. It's not your church. You understand? It's not your church. So this thing, it's so political, and, you know, trying to explain it to people is even exhausting. You're like, you know what? Believe what you want about me, but I know what I know. And I'm not going to rest until I find justice for me and my children.
Yeah.
But label me what you want. I don't care.
I mean, in the Methodists, they are genius people, women
Yeah.
and men, very
Yeah.
intelligent, politically connected,
Yeah.
and they've been involved even in the liberation
Yes.
of this country. Why can't they relate to the nature of humiliation that were imposed on you? Most probably, you were not the first.
No, definitely not the first. But I do believe the last.
The last, eh?
No, definitely the last, because I'm not gonna let this go. I'm not gonna let it go. There's lots of families that have been evicted from the manses or the mission house. I remember there's a story of one, they were kicked out in the middle of the night with small kids. And these stories, remember, the aim of this is to shame, humiliate. No one is going to talk about it. I mean, when something like that happens, you just want to, you know, go hide in shame and suffer in silence. And I thought, actually, it's that silence that's causing this thing to go on and on and on. And I'm going to break the silence, which is why I put my video out there. I'm like, I'm not going to, if you thought I'm going to suffer in silence because I'm ashamed of what's happening, I'm like, no. And for me, I'm also fighting for the families that are still suffering till
Today.
Some ministers have lost their lives because of stress. They've had strokes, they've had heart attacks, there's been a lot. And for me, I'm like, no, it's the last. The next generations of clergy, families, you're not going to do this. You need to rethink your systems. You need to reevaluate your systems. You need to change. You cannot treat humans like this. So that's why I'm saying it's been done many times before. It's not new. It's not the first. But I do believe it's the last.
As you've been speaking out, because I've heard you talk about the injustices in the church. To be more specific, the Methodist Church. Weren't you getting threats at all?
Of course.
Is it?
I mean, they've even sent thugs. I was woken up at gunpoint at a robbery that I believe it's church people. But by God's grace,
By God's grace.
by God's grace,
Yeah.
no one was harmed physically. Why not saying things are falling apart? It doesn't.
No, you're safe. I was going to tell you, you're safe.
Yeah. So, by God's grace, no one was physically harmed. But I just saw how cruel the church, church people can be. Remember, church is just walls.
Yeah.
You know, it's you and I who make church. So I just realized, church people can be very cruel. And when that didn't work, because that was meant to scare us, and we were supposed to leave that parish, and I was like, I'm going to stick it out. If this is how it's supposed to end, if I'm going to die because of fighting injustices or speaking against the nonsense that's going on in church, then so be it. But I'm not gonna cower away and run away and stuff. Then after the robbery, then it was like, okay, this guy doesn't have a parish. We don't want him in the church anymore. And like, why? Like, because the congregation is happy with him. They wanted him for another term because it was he had served a 5-year term.
Okay. So pastors in the Methodist serve for 5 years.
Yes,
Okay.
if the congregation invites you. Remember, it's a sending church, so
Oh, yeah,
they will
yeah.
send you to whatever church for 2 years.
Oh,
And if
okay.
the people like you, then they will invite you. And then the invitation is another 3 years.
Oh, I
So
see.
together that makes
5
5.
years. Okay.
Right. So they invited, after he served the 5-year term, then they invited him again for another 5-year term. And then church leaders were like, no. Then they were conniving and chucked him out. So I said, why? Give him a reason. And then they said I was the reason. Then I was like, okay, let the games begin. I'm going to fight until you tell him what he did wrong. As
So
long
in
as
other
you say
words,
it's me,
you were
I'm going
fighting
to
for your
fight
husband. You were fighting for your
Yes,
husband.
Yes. It's like, no, you're not going to kick him out of the church that the congregation invited him in. The congregants are happy with him. So on what basis are you chucking him out on? And then they said, no, it's because of my social media. Where am I featuring?
Are you employed by the church?
I am not. I don't have any contract with the church or whatever. There was no orientation when I married this guy to say, okay, now you are married to us as well. You know? So where am I featuring? Why is he suffering? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to fight you until you tell him why you really chucked him out, because it cannot be me. I mean, look now. And then they resorted to saying, okay, then you need to distance yourself from your wife if you want to have a future.
That's
in this
satanic.
church.
That's demonic.
That's demonic. So they said he needed to distance himself. And I was like, okay, so you said I was the problem. Okay, now you're getting rid of me. Shab, then give him his job back. 2 years later and still...
Is your husband working currently?
No. So that's why I'm saying it was never about me. It was jealousy. It was pure jealousy. And I wanted to prove to them, him included, him and the church, that don't lie and say it was because of me, I'm being controversial or whatever. Tell him why you chucked him out. They couldn't, because they found nothing on him. You understand? So he did nothing. So why is he still out of work to date? If I was the problem, I'm out.
No,
Peace.
I'm just curious.
So why is he not in church?
I'm just curious. With everything that has been happening, I've never heard the voice of your husband. Maybe perhaps on other platform we have heard what he has to say about this whole thing, because victimization of his family is a crime in South Africa.
Yeah.
Just to be properly registered, even with the South African human rights, they will never really appreciate this kind of behavior. The Methodists, looking at the former chaplain of the ANC, was coming from the Methodist. We've got people like Bishop Dandala coming from the Methodist, who've been so much vocal about human abuse against black people, to be more specific. And you ask yourself, how can such body of genius people remain silent in such a moment? What is your husband specifically saying about it, all this drama?
Like, one thing I've observed is these men, when all of this takes place, they literally fighting to stay alive.
Yo.
So to be like, no, this is unfair or whatever, they don't have time. That guy has been in and out of hospital, I don't know how many times. He's almost had a stroke. Had I not taken him to the doctor at the time I did, the doctor said, had you arrived an hour later, he would have had a heart failure or a stroke. So literally all they have is just to fight to stay alive. That's how much the church or the system, let me say the system, because even the leaders, remember, they are now custodians of the system. So the system has been designed to instill fear. So right now, whoever's watching, that thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to come out and speak about the injustice of the church. Do you think after what happened to me and my kids and my family, anyone wants to speak up?
No.
Definitely not. So they instill fear, so they will abuse people and hope that you're going to keep quiet. And if you don't keep quiet, we're going to make an example so that no one will ever speak up. Because if you speak, look what happened to so-and-so. I mean, there are others who've tried speaking out and They did the same things, and then everyone's like, yo,
Wow.
I could be next. I don't want that to happen to my family. So they all keep quiet. That's why it's like no one is speaking up, because they fear that and these people are connected. Like, the Methodist Church is a mafia.
Wow.
And they thrive on propaganda. I mean, they had a whole Facebook page which was created solely to spread lies about me. I mean, there were things I would read on that page and be like, and then what did I do next? Because it was a lie. And it was like, can you actually lie about someone to that extent? And people would actually believe it. And, there were people who were assisting my family, and they stopped because they're like, no, but we can't be associated with such a person. So they are that cruel. They will go to those lengths to destroy you.
That's sad.
They will go to those lengths. They will propaganda. They will go all out. They've got the finances. They've got people in places. So it's like, even if you go to the law, it's like you're going to report the Methodist to the Methodist.
Who are you to report them?
Who are you to report them? So it's like, that's why they continue abusing people. Because also I think the law also fails, that the clergy or the ministers of the Methodist Church, because it's like it's not regulated by the South African laws. It's like the laws don't apply to them. You understand?
The church in general in South Africa
Exactly.
is in a mess because the government, let me say this, Nandi, that the government actually gives a blind eye, especially to these churches which came to South African specific by colonial masters. Look at them. They are thriving very well. And whenever you hear of an expose about a church, it would be these are independent ministries, independent churches, which don't have the capacity to defend themselves,
Yes.
But when it comes to,
And notice how they always squash those.
Yes, they do.
They were very fast.
they do.
I just don't want to call people by name,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
think
yeah.
of all the black pastors who came and started their ministries and they were flourishing. How propaganda is done.
Yes.
And before you know it,
They've disappeared.
they're fighting for their lives. Like, literally, they are
Yes.
fighting for their lives, nothing but their lives.
You know what? Over the years, I've held to the view that the Dutch Reformed Church, the Methodists,
Yes.
even the Apostolic Faith Mission, all these
mainline
churches,
churches.
mainline churches,
Mainline churches.
I've said it before that they need to be given an opportunity to go for Truth and Reconciliation Commission, because they were used as a propaganda tool, even to dehumanize our
Yes.
people. I grew up in this church, the Alliance Church. The Alliance Church, the missionaries were having the free reign. And when you look at the missionaries within the Alliance Church in South Africa, from the 60s, when you look at the pastors then, the kind of life they lived and the way their children were subjected to poverty in comparison to missionaries from Sweden. I mean, you would hate church. That's why these children grew up hating church. And we've got this notion, and it has become like a cliche. Why do pastors' children rebellious? It's because of the things that they're exposed to. And I so much wish somebody from the Methodist and these other mainline churches can just take responsibilities.
They can't. Remember, these churches, the mainline churches, they have their owners, which is why they have head offices and whatnot. They have their owners. And the owners don't want to be known. Actually, we think, no, the church belongs to so-and-so, whoever is the presiding bishop at the time. No, they're just a puppet of
the owners.
You
The
understand?
mafias.
The mafias. Obviously, they would never come forth and take any responsibility. And my biggest issue is the leaders who are now custodians of the systems that abuses the people. So that's why, I will, like, even them, I will target them one by one, because now as an individual, you're being stupid. You are being used.
And what do they say?
I will gladly tell you, you are being stupid right now. So if you are allowed to be used, by virtue of taking that position, it's either you want to change the status quo, and obviously you can't, because recently The new presiding bishop was, what do they call it? But when you're being sworn into position.
Yeah.
Soon after that.
Like a consecration kind
Yes.
of. Yeah.
And then after that, she was flown to the UK.
Okay.
Because the
To
owners,
meet the real owners.
To meet the real owners, they need to tell her what must happen. So you say yes to that. Again, you're a sellout because you know what's going on. I mean, one of the reasons this guy, who was a steward, who is a steward at Bedford View Methodist Church, Fred Smith, he invited this guy. Apparently, there's a big five.
Okay.
Which owns the church.
Okay.
Well, Bedford View Methodist Church. But now this is apparently the Methodist Church. It's God's church, but there's a big five that owns it. And I'm assuming it's old people. Probably some of them are dying, and now they're grooming him, and they're looking. And they were trying to recruit my husband. And he was like, no, I'm not going to be a part of it. And which is one of the reasons why he was kicked out. And those are the things that, for me, church leadership, or people in general, need to know that this had nothing to do with me. There's no way my footstep on social media is going to affect someone's calling. It has nothing to do with me. You understand? Then say he said it. When he said it, then we have an issue. Then you deal with that. But to say I was the cause, no, the reality is the mafia, I guess I saw a lot behind the curtains, and I needed to go. I know too much. And I'm not going to stop talking just because I'm no longer married to a Methodist minister. I'm still a congregant. I'm still going to stay there.
Do you still wear your ligaria?
Yes, I'm going to wear. It's just that I've taken a break. I've taken a sabbatical from church. No, I've just taken a sabbatical from church because I need to go with a clear mind.
Okay, sure.
A sober mind, not emotional about things and dealing with things for what they are and with facts. But for now, I'm just like, I'm taking a breather. But the Methodist Church, I'm going back there.
And I've heard.
I'm still I'm still going to wear my, you know. So it's far from over.
What can it take for them to strip it off from you?
There's nothing. Because as long as they claim it's the Church of God, then they have a problem. They then need to be honest and say, this is so-and-so's church, and so-and-so is saying get out. Until the owner comes to South Africa and says, listen, get out, then I'm still going to be around. Wow.
And I've heard that your husband is a powerful preacher, is a charismatic preacher.
Yeah.
And he is one of the best gifts that we have, both in the church and also in the country. And you would wonder if perhaps his gift is a threat, perhaps, to the status quo.
No, definitely. The guy is gifted. I'll give him that. And they know. You know, I always say, maybe I exposed him too soon. You know, sometimes when a gift exposed too soon may be a problem. I always think of Joseph. Joseph told his brothers, you know, one day I'm gonna lead you. And what did they do? They tried to bury him alive. So it's the same thing. I mean, I've always believed that he's destined for greatness. The guy, he's got lots of potential. You understand? So I've always put it out there. I never hid that. Like, I actually believe this guy one day is going to be the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church.
Wow.
And I remember when they were having elections for the position of being a presiding bishop.
Yeah.
I actually started a campaign. It was a dummy campaign at the time. I was just joking around. And I was like, actually, here's a family man who could lead the church. Because I believe as a leader, first get your house in order.
Absolutely.
Remember, the smallest institution where we learn leadership is in the family. We are all leaders. If you have a family, you are a leader within that institution. And I've always said to him, if you can't lead here, or your house is not in order, there's no way you're going to lead that congregation.
Absolutely.
There's no way you're going to lead that congregation. So I've always we had a tight ship. Our family was one to be admired. You can go through my social media. We that family that Lord, from my mouth to your ears, can I have a family like this?
Wow,
Like
wow.
we were that family. And I've always said the church needs a leader like that who has a solid family. You understand? The church needs, but now there's an agenda.
Okay.
There's an LGBT what agenda. And right now the church is being led of like the past presiding bishop, lesbian in the closet, the current a divorcee who is now a lesbian in the closet as well. So there's obviously an agenda. Any man or woman who is still upholding, the family structure as God ordained it, they're getting rid of you.
Wow.
There is definitely an agenda. I saw, I think it was a tweet recently. There was a picture of guilders, so it's our youth, the Methodist Church youth, gay guys, and like it's like this church got a tender to produce gays.
Wow.
And that's because in our church it's the in thing. I'm telling you, we are going to, the Methodist Church is becoming the headquarters of the alphabet.
Wow, wow. Is homosexuality allowed within the church, the Methodist?
I would say it is, but there's nothing in writing saying that. But it is. And it's almost as if at the rate it's going, I would say being a heterosexual is going to be very abnormal in the Methodist Church.
Say it again.
Soon, being a heterosexual is going to be very abnormal in the Methodist Church.
Yeah.
A straight man is going to be like he just grew a third boob on the forehead. If you are straight, there's something absolutely wrong with you. The normal is
the alphabet.
It's homosexuality. And if you come pushing your agenda, your family, heterosexuality, like there's something wrong with you. You understand? And the agenda is real. It's real. The general secretary, he's been, is he outgoing? I'm not so clued up about their news anymore.
Okay.
But the current general secretary, a man married to a woman, but he's been molesting young boys. He's been, even his colleagues, if you want a better station or a church, you must bend, or I don't know who's bending who, but there must be bending.
Evil. Methodist in South Africa must fall.
So, but you got to bend or be bent, whatever the case may be.
There's some bending happening.
There's bending happening. So there's definitely an agenda, and they definitely fighting mishato, the normal marriages or heterosexual marriages. It's like they're demons sent from hell to destroy families. You understand? And for me, I remember at one point someone said, no, maybe go apologize to the Methodist Church and then things will be normal. I said, I would never make deals with the devil because this is demonic. I don't care how you look at it. There's a demonic agenda, and I would never negotiate with the devil. It's not my portion. Not my portion. I will never negotiate with the devil. So if my husband still wants to continue in this cult, because for me it's giving cult vibes.
Yeah.
You understand? And it's not like there's anything he's going to do to change the status quo, because some people may stay in an institution with hopes to bring about change, but right now, how many people are willing to stand against this evil that's happening in the church? Not many. So it's either it's either you join them because you won't beat them. So for me, I was like, no, I'd rather walk away from the marriage if you are going to continue. Because remember, Now, as I was saying, you have a lesbian heading the church. So obviously, leadership, if the head, remember that's the head of the
Absolutely.
church. So
Absolutely.
everything that happens in the head is
Goes
bound,
down.
it's bound to affect
Yeah.
the whole body.
The Bible says about the anointing poured on the head of Aaron. It goes down
Yeah.
to everybody who is at the
Exactly.
bottom.
Exactly. So now, obviously, there's no way, and I actually pity the ministers who are still in the system, who are in heterosexual marriages. I mean, marriage itself is not easy. So imagine being in ministry and having your head someone you cannot even go seek counsel from.
I hear you.
What would she tell
That's why it's
you?
easy for them to say, you know what, get rid of this woman.
Exactly.
Because she's controversial.
Exactly.
It's easy.
It's easy for them because it's like, yeah, that's normalized.
That is the demon, the spirit of
Yeah.
Babylon reigning
Exactly.
within the church.
Exactly. And now for me, I'm starting to question the congregants as well. Remember, those leaders are put by them. What are you thinking when you put someone on that leadership position? What are you hoping to gain? What influence are you looking for? You understand? That's why when people judge me, like, yeah, but umamfundisi, you got piercings, you've got tattoos, and like, okay, sharp. How are my tattoos and piercings hindering your relationship with Christ?
Okay.
If you can answer that, say, no, Nandi, your nose ring, it affected me so and so. As a matter of fact, now my husband and I, we're no longer married because of your tattoos and because of, and then we got something to talk about. However, the immorality that is accepted within the church, it is really hindering a lot of people from having a relationship with God. Because you begin to ask yourself, so if the church can say a man must divorce his wife, and the Bible says God hates divorce, what kind of a church is that? Or which God are you worshipping? That's another question.
That's another question.
You may be worshipping a God, but which God
Which
is
God?
that? You understand? If you can
Relevant
have,
question.
if you can have church leaders saying, no, go abort, and the Bible says, go be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth, and you say abort because we're overpopulated, which God are you serving? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing what the God I thought we were all serving once, which is having kids is a beautiful thing. Let's multiply, And then a church says, no, you shouldn't be having, you have too many kids. Which God are you serving?
Which God?
You may be serving a God, but which God are you serving? You understand? And then you have some of church leaders that are ordained into masonry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Freemasonry is real.
Freemasonry is real.
Is it?
Yes, it's real. Recently, Bedford View Methodist Church had a funeral of one of prominent members. What I saw there was like, wow. They came with their, the Freemasonry sign.
Yes.
I think I took a video or a picture and I put it on social media. I think one person said, but isn't this Freemasonry? And for me, it's how oblivious Christians are to all of this. And to them, it's like, we're going to talk about silly things like piercings that really have no bearing on anyone's spirituality or anyone's
then
morality.
Also, you must look
And then
at
we
the
focus
person.
on that.
Look at the person who is making that statement.
All right. And such things, having church leadership, in Freemasonry, and you're okay with that, then the question is, which God are you guys really worshipping? Because we may be out here fighting you, saying, no, but God wouldn't allow this, but which God are you worshipping? You understand? And with the whole depopulation agenda and the homosexuality being, now the Methodist Church has a desk of the LGBTQ something, which was launched recently, I think last year. And you're like, no, this is serious.
Serious stuff.
And I've tried to walk away from all this drama. And I was like, you know what, I don't need all of this. I've got young kids. I'm just gonna go and raise my kids and forget it. But somehow I'm always pulled back. I'm like, no, God is saying something. Like, girl, I stand up and fight.
Yeah.
And even now with the divorce, there are people who've been coming to me like, no, but this would be you allowing the devil to win. Because it's like right now there's a lot of people that are depending on your fight. It's not just about you and your family. There are lots of other people that are depending on you. But I'm like, yeah, but why don't you guys fight your battles? The same way I'm fighting my battles. And someone said to me, well, unfortunately, even in the Bible, God has never called masses. He's always called
it's
one
only
man.
one person, yes.
Unfortunately, he never calls masses. It's always that one person. So fortunately or unfortunately, you seem to be that one person. So
Now, Nandi, why can't you give your marriage a chance?
I think for now, I don't know. There's issues that I'm having with the principalities of I don't want to say he's not my ex-husband yet, soon to be. I'm questioning stuff as him as a man. It's like, no, but as a man, you shouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah.
As a man, a man must.
Yeah.
I think I'm still suffering from a man must, and I'm struggling. And I'm like, if I take him back, I've gained strength I didn't even know I had. Is he going to be okay with the woman I am now?
A good woman and messed up, or
No, I'm not messed up.
Okay.
No, one thing I'm not messed up.
Okay.
But one thing I know for fact is I'm so intolerant to BS. It's not even funny. I see it like
red flag.
That I'm not going to put up, and I'm not going to say no. So we are still going back to the same institution I have issues with. So I'm still going to call BS. I'm still going to say no, but you still doing that nonsense we fought about. So it's not like now I'm going to go back and be like, okay, I see that.
I understand.
It looks like chocolate. No, it's not chocolate.
Sped.
Shit. Excuse my French.
Oh.
It's not going to be chocolate. So what
God
I'm saying.
forgive you, my daughter.
Yeah, thank you, Father. So my thing is now there's this woman who's stronger than before, who's like, no, I won't. I'll even fight you if I feel like you're being stubborn about it. I'm going to fight you. I'm not going to let it go. So if I was seen as rebellious, weaker than I am now, are they going to deal with the woman I am now? They won't.
Wow.
So, and again, is it not going to be a problem
You've
to
become
his
more
ministry?
famous than ever before.
No, apart from more famous than before, it's like literally, I'm at a point where I would, if I feel you as a church, what you're doing is an abomination, I'd probably just throw a petrol bomb, like, you all need to go to hell.
Yeah.
So how can I put it? The convictions I have now, I'm unapologetic about them.
Wow.
I'm taking no prisoners. I'm not negotiating with the devil. And right now we are Christians who negotiate with the devil. We make deals with the devil every day. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to make deals with the devil. I'm sorry. If it means I must suffer, I will suffer, but I will not make a deal with the devil. I'm not going to tangle with the devil. So I'm like, you are beneath me. You must know your place. So we're not going to negotiate. And Christians, today's Christian is busy negotiating with the enemy.
Yeah.
As if they're on the same. No, I'm not on the same level with the devil. The enemy is beneath me. You understand? So now the question is, if I give this marriage a chance, he's still going to want me to negotiate. I don't negotiate. I will not negotiate. It's God's way or the highway.
Wow.
It's God's way or the highway. I'm that girl that will be like, no, homosexuality, I don't agree with it.
Because the Bible does not agree with it.
The Bible does not agree with it. I'm not going to say, no, it's wrong. And I don't hate the person.
Absolutely.
I just don't agree
like
with your lifestyle.
We don't hate
just
sinner, but
yes,
we hate sin.
You hate sin. The same way if you feel, no, but I don't like your piercings or whatever. That's okay.
Mm.
It doesn't mean you hate me. You just don't like what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah.
So now I can hate what you're doing without hating you. And so I'm still going to go back and say, no, but homosexuality is wrong. That's it, it's another agenda to depopulate. Remember, no man and man can make a child.
Not at all.
And no woman and woman can have a child. It's part of depopulation amongst many others. So I'm still that woman that's going to say, no, it's wrong. So I'm still going to be hated by homosexuals because they're going to, it's easy for them to say you homophobic when you say, no, but guys, this is wrong. How, for me, the one thing, a gay friend of mine recently, he's lost his brakes. You get what I mean?
Okay.
Do you get, not brakes, car brakes.
Oh.
Yes. And so these are things they don't talk about that eventually, because
What has he lost?
the brakes. So poop will exit on its
You're
own.
lying. No, I'm not saying you're lying.
I'm
Like,
not. So here's the thing. These are things they won't talk about when they're advertising
Is it?
homosexuality. Is that your anus is designed to be an exit, not an entrance. So the moment you make it an entrance, there are muscles you are damaging. This is biological. It's scientific. It's got nothing to do with spiritualizing or whatever. It's biology. You are messing your muscles. And now the anus is just
yo,
a freeway.
wow.
They don't talk about how they must wear tampons because it's a freeway. You will find a
That's
gay
scary, eh?
but they won't talk about this. They won't talk about how they will die from cancer from.
Renal cancer, yeah.
You understand? They don't talk about that, but it's like love comes in. How can love destroy you? Because now this is something that's
Yeah,
destroying your
absolutely.
body, and you call that love. And we must keep quiet because people are born in a certain way. No, it's wrong. Let's call a spade a spade. If you're gonna hate me for saying what I said, then it's fine. If my truth, or the truth that you know as well, because remember, there are laws of nature. You can never break them.
Not at
You
all.
can break all laws, but
Yeah,
laws
you
of
can't,
nature,
you can't.
you cannot cheat laws of nature. You cannot break laws of nature. And unfortunately, homosexuality is trying to go against laws of nature.
Wow, wow, wow. Now, I want to ask you something which I know is very dear to you. I've had conversations with you before, like off camera, and you are so much concerned about liberating a black mind from the colonial mindset. I think most of the conversations that I've had with you, you would never just end the conversations without talking about the concept of colonialism, which I always say that apartheid was a well done job.
Yeah.
It was designed by a psychologist, Verwoerd.
Yeah.
To most of people that might not know, Verwoerd, one of the architectures of apartheid, was a psychologist, and what he did was a well done job. He has messed up a black mind. My question to you, Queen Nandi, is that do you believe that the church has played a role of sustaining colonialism, slavery, and apartheid in South Africa?
Of course. Of course, it plays a huge role. Remember, I always ask myself, maybe you'll answer me before we actually get into what you have asked. Do you mean to tell me Africans believed in nothing? They were just sitting and running around like monkeys? And, no. Actually, many things that colonialism has, they actually perverted what we were doing already.
Absolutely.
They just pervert everything. They just pervert, make it theirs. They take what we are doing, repackage it, and give it back to us, and sell it back to us, actually.
Yeah.
So, I always say I would have loved to meet Hendrik Verwoerd, because that was smart. What he did is, we have to admit, well played, because now we are dealing with something generational. First of all, the black woman has always been image of the white woman.
Yeah.
The black man has always worked for the white man. But they've always maintained that superiority. You understand? And so I always say I actually, one day when I have enough money, I want a white maid.
Okay.
Because I need to program my children that a white person can be your slave. I need them to. So notice how you at this age, if you were to be in a queue and a white person came rushing the walk past, you're like, oh no, you can go before me. It's like you have to fight
Slave
yourself.
mentality.
You have to fight yourself.
We had an
to say-
experience yesterday. Just to cut you a little bit,
Yeah.
Nandi. Yesterday, my brother was driving, so we are going through this security boom, and when we were about to exit, literally this security guard closed us off and rushed to the other lane to open for white people.
Yes.
And we just looked at each other
Yeah.
with my brother and asked ourselves questions like, hey, Bishop Eddie, is this happening like in South Africa?
Yeah, it happens every day. You go to what you call it, a food outlet, or maybe you're going to buy a burger or whatever. I don't want to call names. You will get there and you'll watch a white person go before you, like, hi ma'am, hi sir, there's this professionalism. And then you watch this, and then that white person goes, and then you come. Yeah.
Wow.
What happened to ma'am or sir? Am I not deserving
I know.
of being ma'am?
I know.
Or Ati, yes. And you're like, I lose my marbles for those. Actually, I've stopped going to shop because I lose my marbles every time. I be like, you are such an idiot. You are such an idiot because your self-hate. For me, a black person, like it's here. We are all like, I don't want to say all, but actually the black mind is a prison cell.
Yeah. It's a dom cell.
We are in
Dom/cell.
Yes, we are in prison mentally. Because for me, when you treat a white person better and then when a black person comes, what you are saying is, I as a black person, it has nothing to do with me, who you are treating. It's I as a black person am not worthy of respect. I'm not worthy of good life, or the things we deem. So I'm not good enough. So when you see me as a black person, you seeing you. It's like, no, but why? Yes, ngithe madam mlungwini, ma'am, whatever, because vele abo boss abelungu wena umuntu omnyama. So it's actually self-hate imposed on another black person. So the mess, I don't know if we're ever going to come out of it, because we are still struggling today. Like you're saying, a security guard will leave you hanging to attend to a white person. You understand? And yeah, we have a long way to go, and I think it's an individual thing. That there's no institution or law that's going to rid that. Who that you have to say, I'm human, I deserve to be here, I'm worthy of being here, I'm worthy of the respect, and you understand? Because even Nati, sometimes you'd be like, I shame ngumlungu. I shame ngumlungu. Utheni mlungu? Umlungu is human just like you and I, And I think I started learning this serving in a white congregation with abantu abadala who grew up in that era. That umuntu omnyama is beneath you, and you understand. And remember, this is an upbringing thing. Nababazenzi, that's all they know.
Absolutely.
That's all they know. Just like all I know is that umuntu omnyama, Tina, we there, bona ba there. So it's something I'm on a journey.
Wow.
I'm on a journey to say, no, umlungu is not better than me. I'm not disrespecting you, but you are not better than me. You are human, just like I'm human. So now I deserve the things that you think
are better.
Good,
yeah.
Are good. Now I deserve better. I deserve good, just like you. So I'm not going to give you special treatment because when your skin is lighter than mine, or that I've been programmed to think. So that's why I would actually want a maid. Yomlungu. So that I program my children. Umlungu yakwazi. Yabo. And I think it has started because we have the robotini.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Now, I'm sorry about that. Queen Nandi, just before we close, I want to confess, the first time I saw you, like I said it in my introduction, I really wanted to meet you because of your positioning. You are not afraid to speak. and you are vocal, and everything that you say is Bible based. And anything which is nonsense is nonsense to you. And I've seen also on your social media platform that you've got a lot of people who follow you, and a lot of people who look up to you, and hence that's the reason why you've got no choice but not to give up, because many people are looking up to you, including women in ministry are looking up to you, and the whole concept of ministry to us as black people has been a scam in many different ways. And I'll tell you why. Because we were told that we must only focus on preaching the gospel and don't have vocation, don't have an extra work. And many people of my age, pastors, are a mess. They've got high blood, they've got sugar, diabetes. They can't survive within the perimeters of these institutionalized churches, and it's a pity. And whenever I have an opportunity of speaking to young people, I always say to these young people that, look, it's okay to serve the Lord, but you can never give away your life from and suspend yourself from working. Work is important because it is one of the things that God designed and created in the beginning. So as young people, I'm speaking to you as young people whom God is calling into ministry. That's why you find certain husbands, us who are in ministry, we compromise even when your wife is abused by church folks, because these are the church folks who are paying your bills. Sometimes we feel compromised to avoid that. And I'm not saying this because Nandi is here. I'm saying this because I've got colleagues who are abused, whose children are abused. Literally, there was a time when my daughter was driving a Mercedes Benz, and one of the people were making comments, this is the Malizetu, this is our money, without knowing that I work hard. As much as I serve God with all my heart and I work hard, but I also go down in the mud and work to put bread on my table, or on the table of my family, so that our work is not compromised. So I want to hear from you, like they say in English, that from the horse's mouth. What is your word for young women in ministry and young men in ministry in this day and age? What is your word to them?
It's a tough one. You're putting me on the spot here. Because firstly, okay, I'm going to talk from my experiences with a mainline church. Yeah. They say they don't want their ministers to work. So you don't have a choice, but you can't work. That's all you do. But at the same time, they've created this toxic relationship where this man or woman now depends on them for everything. The codependency just doesn't make sense. You understand? So it's like, at the same time, yes, you are using it's their money, so they're not lying when they're saying no, that car zimali zethu, because it is iminikelo yabo. Do you understand? But now what I would advise is, the issue I have currently with Methodist ministers is, why do you entertain this notion that these people, it's their money? It's like you whoever comments that imali zethu, do you think your 100 rand really bought that Mercedes that you gave maybe once a month? It's not. Like, use your brains. Also, the ministers, there's this tendency, I hate that with a passion. Stop saying, Nam, I'm human too. If you are human too, why did you say you are called to be set apart? Because when you are now a pastor, or you claim to have a calling, you're not like the rest of us. You have a calling, you have been set apart. So you can't walk around doing things and then say, but nam ngiwumuntu. Which is why you will have congregants saying such things. Because if a congregant knew, no, I'm paying into this man's ministry, I'm paying into the ministry, which is the church. So these are the services I'm getting from the church. When you go to Eskom, you won't find people saying umsebenzi wakwa Eskom imali zethu lezo. But abasebenzi wakwa Eskom, they got their assets or whatever because they work there. But imali zethu, we pay our light bills, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we don't go around saying that. Time's up.
Sorry, can you please just pause for now?
Okay. Okay. Why? Are we in trouble? Okay. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. You know where to pick up, there? You know, like you don't go to ESCOM and say,
Oh, yeah.
Imalizate. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I'm counting down. In 3, 2, 1, action.
So if you won't go to an ESCOM employee and say imali zethu that you've built your house or bought your cars, then why say it to pastors? So for me, I would say to this young clergy is stop walking around and saying nami umuntu, because that you've now was bigger with lower level. You said you were called and we believed you and we held you to a certain standard because you are called. Now then I'm going to treat you. If I don't like myself, don't expect me to like you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You understand?
I hear you.
So stop this thing ukuthi nami umuntu. Strive to live an upright life. Try to align with what you say you are. If uthi umfundisi, and pick your struggle. But you cannot be all over the place, because I think that's where also ministry is losing its value. Because the custodians of ministry, uzophila nathi wenze the things we do, walk like we do, talk like we do, and then you expect us to, we can't. So so for me, young pastors or ministers, please be responsible with the power that you've been given by God.
Wow. My sister, so much thankful to you for your wisdom and your intelligence. Actually, you are an activist. You know, that's the proper way of describing you, because you don't only touch issues which is affecting the Methodist church, but also issues affecting the church in general and our community. And I really appreciate you, and I look up to you, and keep up with the good work. Just to encourage you, you know, the Bible says that many are the afflictions of the righteous, but God will always deliver them from all. And keep your head high. A lot of people are looking up to you, and I know, I can speak from experience. Sometimes you sit alone and you feel like, you know what, nobody is really listening. I'm not touching any life. I'm not influencing any life, but I can tell you, and I'm speaking this from a man that has walked with the Lord for many years, who's gone through different challenges of life, who's been judged, and also a person that has been lifted up by the Lord. And what I've learned is that if the nation can talk about you, it means you are not just an individual ukapela abanye abantu emhlabeni. You are an individual designed to influence and also to impact nations. And I'm going to say these words to you, that one day somebody, some woman somewhere, 20 years later, 50 years later, they will quote you because of the stance that you've taken. And I want to say to you, keep it up, and God be with you. And once more, thank you for coming to our program. God bless you, and keep on winning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
God bless you. Continue giving other people a platform to speak, because
Amen.
Don't take this lightly. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, my sister.
Thank
Wow.
you so much.
Amazing stuff. Wow. I'm shocked. I'm conflicted, because I am a minister of the gospel. I'm a pastor. But we are here to bring order in the body of Christ. Anything which is not of God, we shall reject it with all our hearts, because Jesus said, upon this rock I shall build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Ladies and gentlemen, follow us on our YouTube channel by liking our channel, and we thank God for you. We love you, and keep on supporting us, and God bless you.